Oh, hey everybody, we're live.
How is everyone doing?
We were just
Hello.
talking about babies.
And the conversation took a weird turn.
It did. I had a hard time explaining any more than that.
I think if you want to know more, you should probably become a
we
patron
touched
and
on the
check
French
out
Revolution and boarding schools and
offensive
slightly
stereotypes.
offensive stereotypes that only Patrick could get away with because it's his own ethnicity. And
At what point does your? I've always been wondering. I won't go into it. It's probably going to.
Oh, it's fine.
3 minutes
What do
before
you
the
wanna
show,
know?
Roger's like, let's have a deep conversation about a complex issue like ethnicity.
Yeah, like how far can you be?
Sure, we can wrap this up.
A partial ancestry of a particular ethnicity before it's no longer cool for you to make any kind of like.
Oh, I see.
Jestful jokes or anything
like the classic. I'm 16th Cherokee.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
like so,
right,
I can
right.
say it. That's like, well,
Yeah,
first of all,
I mean,
it's doubtful that you are, but
I think if you knew a living relative who was definitely in the culture, you're safe.
Well,
I'm not saying that's the only way, but I'm like that's how you know you're safe.
My dad was Jewish, but he was like the least Jewish person you have ever met. He never went to, like, he never did anything, like, except towards the end. Like, it's strange. People, when they get older, they somehow, it wasn't even about religion for him, and it wasn't the sickness or anything, but he was like, sometimes he would be like, oh yeah, like this Jewish thing is really important, and you're like, you've never been to a synagogue in your life.
Yes, I'm going to be. I'm going to when I'm in my 70s. Expect me to rediscover my love of corn and soybeans for a similar reason. Soybean fields are very important.
you know what else is very important, Tom?
Giving control to Roger is what's important.
Whoa! It's like you read his mind. Here you go.
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Well, me and hopefully my unborn child will also. No, that doesn't work. The phrase, this construction of the sentence doesn't work. I'll get it right at one point.
Okay. So you're planning a ready birth.
Yes. So basically, I wanted to infer the fact that as myself being born ready, my child,
your child
also be born in a state of readiness.
The readiness of the father shall be visited upon the child
at the time of the birth.
All right, here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. Just you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Oh, this is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, September 19th, 2017. I'm Tom Merritt. Patrick Beja is with me. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent. And of all days, today is the most auspicious day to be having a show. Do you know why, Tom?
Auspicious. Well, I know Apple's got a couple of their OSs came out.
Oh, we don't care about that.
Oh.
Because in just 48 hours, it will be my birthday. And that's what makes today special.
So
obviously.
You only have 2 more unbirthdays until your birthday. Happy birthday, Patrick.
Well, I mean, don't get ahead of yourself. It's just in 2 days. We have a lot of tech news to get through before that. But
we certainly do. Producer Roger Chang is alongside as well. Happy birthday, Roger.
Hello. Wait. It's not my birthday.
Yeah, just getting it
at some point.
If someone wants to send me like an ice cream birthday cake, I would be.
You'll never refuse.
Wouldn't be opposed to that. That's understandable, reasonable.
Let's start with a few tech things you should know. Apple released iOS 11 today and watchOS 4. iOS 11 will slowly roll out to customers. You can make it happen by going into settings. iOS 11 is a 64-bit operating system, so if you have any apps that haven't updated from their 32-bit versions, they won't work anymore if you upgrade to iOS 11. So you can see which ones those are in the Settings app under General, About, and Applications. Turns out I have an old Squarespace app that they don't support anymore that's still 32-bit.
Well, good riddance, I say. Those 32-bit apps, they were such a bore, and we won't miss them. And
not one bit.
Not. All right. A clarification to our previous story about the Boston Red Sox allegedly using an Apple Watch to aid in stealing signs. A source speaking to the Boston Globe claims it was in fact a Fitbit.
Not an Apple Watch. Okay. All right. We do not know which model of Fitbit. We will keep on this until we get you the final word on how those dirty Steins see theirs. No, I'm just kidding, Red Sox fans. It's interesting that it's one of those things where people call something that's not, like they call it an iPhone even though it's an Android phone, because that's just how they think about stuff. Yeah. 9 to 5 Google notes the latest beta version of the Google app indicates the forthcoming Pixel 2 phone may have a squeezable frame similar to the HTC U11, which kind of makes sense. HTC is making the next Pixel phone for Google. I don't know that the squeezing, I mean, it's nifty. I don't know that people are saying, oh my gosh, it's changed how I use phones.
Yeah, people seem lukewarm on that interface thing. I kind of like the idea, but maybe it's not as useful as you might think when you actually have it in your hands. I still think it's a cool way of including another interaction with your phone that doesn't involve buttons or the screen. So,
Squeezably software.
Bloomberg sources say Equifax learned of an attack on its systems in March, in which no data was breached. The attack was not related to the breach that disclosed 143 million personal records.
Now, companies get attacked all the time. Might not be the same people, might not be for the same reason, might not have any connection whatsoever to the recently disclosed attack that happened July 29th. But Equifax needs none of this at this point. Like, every little thing just makes you go, wow, they just really didn't seem to have it on the ball over there.
Definitely.
All right, here are some more top stories. YouTube is launching a program called Sponsorships that lets viewers of a channel pay $4.99 a month to get perks like, I don't know, custom emojis and chat perks like immunity from slowdowns. So all stuff that Twitch offers, and YouTube is now doing it too. The program was in beta for YouTube Gaming, but is now open to all game streamers with more than 1,000 subscribers. And if you're not a game streamer, but like me, you do stream things on YouTube, it'll begin testing in the main YouTube app with non-game creators. Folks like Lauren Fairweather, the crafter, are trying it out right now.
So it doesn't get rid of ads. That would be YouTube Red, which is going to get reworked. So
correct.
For games, it's, I think I don't see YouTube Red all of a sudden, YouTube Gaming all of a sudden picking up for that reason. It might for other reasons, but I don't think that's gonna be what's gonna make it happen. It's really interesting for the general public though, because this way of financing your work has proven quite popular with Patreon and other recurring crowdfunding platforms. It would need, I think, more than one price option for it to be really optimized. But this is already a start, and it might become something significant for YouTube. It might.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to want to damn YouTube for imitating Twitch. Twitch was definitely there first, but this is also the way the marketplace works. The leader comes out with something, and the competitors try to match that and make theirs better somehow. I don't see that this is better yet, but it's the beginning. And the fact that they will be able to spread it out to other creators kind of flips the table, because Twitch is trying to spread out to non-gaming creators as well, but they have a lot farther to go than YouTube, because YouTube has that built-in audience that they've been cultivating for decades. So yeah, it's an interesting model. YouTube's tried other things. They've tried kind of just straight donation, please. They've tried the paid channel, which they're retiring now, where you would just pay to get access into the channel. And so
they have Super Chat.
They're going to keep Super Chat. That'll still be part of this too. So yeah, it's all about trying stuff and seeing what works.
Amazon's new Fire HD10 tablet lets you activate the voice assistant with just your voice. You don't need to touch the tablet. The new tablet has a 1080p display, 32 gigabytes of storage, 10-hour battery life, and costs a mere $149, shipping October 11th.
Yeah, now Amazon Voice Services have been in the Fire tablets before, but you had to touch something to activate it. Now you can just say, Alexa, stop. And then hopefully that stopped yours from being activated while you were listening to this. But yeah, that's that is kind of a cool half step up, because an Echo Show is $250. It can't do all the things that a tablet can do. It can't, pull up video from your security cams. It can't play a bunch of games. You can't pick it up and take it with you very easily because it's plugged into the wall. So this gives you a lot more functionality and flexibility for less cost, even if it's not quite as nice of a microphone. It doesn't have the far field microphone array and all of that. It could be an option for somebody who's like, I kind of like the Echo ecosystem, the Echo system, but I don't want to pay that much.
Yeah, I mean, that might be sort of, as you said, the really important thing in that specific functionality for the Echo is the mic that's going to pick up stuff from across the room. But this is, it's a nice, I mean, Alexa is in everything now, so it's only logical that it's going to be in there.
I realize that stop will just stop the person from hearing Daily Tech News Show if it's actually playing on the Echo. So if we're going to safely say it, you have to say cancel.
So your safe word is cancel, is what you're saying.
Well, I was thinking stop, but then actually W Scottus 1 pointed out that could actually stop someone from hearing the show if they're playing it back.
Well,
there's no good solutions yet. The U.S. Navy will begin stocking its Virginia-class submarines with Xbox controllers, not so that the staff can play Xbox, although I'm going to bet this happens. Starting with the USS Colorado, which is due for commissioning in November, the controllers will be used to operate the periscope. Now, this periscope isn't like in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You don't pull it down anymore and put your face up to it. It's got a screen, and you operate it remotely. Previously, Lockheed, I think it was Lockheed, made a $38,000 system to control it. Now they're making a $30 system to control it. $30 because there's other things involved, but it's a lot cheaper since you're using an Xbox controller.
Yeah, this was kind of a funny story until you realize that they literally cut the price by 1,000. It's like not by $1,000. They divided it by 1,000,
like by 1,000%.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. But it's kind of I don't know. It's funny because you always have those images of people controlling things with joysticks, and that it's not connected to the actual mechanics of it. Like even in cars nowadays, usually your wheel is not physically controlling the turning of the of the wheels. Mm-hmm. But here it feels strange because it's standard Xbox equipment. I wonder if it's hackable in any significant way, because they do have like firmware and stuff like that on the device. But even more importantly than all of this is the fact that all young gamers in the world will now be able, that they're training for a serious job in the U.S. Navy to do stuff in submarines. And that's
Mom, I'm meeting with the Navy recruiter tomorrow. I have to play Xbox.
Exactly.
It's important because I want to be a submarine periscope operator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Electronic Frontier Foundation has withdrawn from the W3C, which sets the standards for the World Wide Web. In an open letter, the EFF said it could not remain in the organization given the W3C's approval of the encrypted media extension, which allows for standardized implementation of digital rights management, and their refusal of a provision that would prevent using EME to block legitimate activities like research.
Yeah, this has been an ongoing debate for quite a long time. Cory Doctorow wrote the open letter on EFF.org. He's been one of the people leading the fight first against doing the EME at all. A lot of people, including Cory, feel that just providing a way for DRM to be used is opening the door to abuse. But the EFF did get to a point where they said, all right, DRM itself isn't necessarily always bad. It just often is implemented for bad reasons. So let's actually try to obviate some of those. And some of the bad things about DRM have to do with the law. So here in the United States, there's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act makes it illegal for you to circumvent copyright protection for any reason that isn't given an exception. Doesn't matter if what you're doing is legal. Even if you have a fair use for what you're doing with the content you access, the DMCA makes it illegal to circumvent copyright protection to do that legal thing. And so that ends up being a big problem with things like, I want to work on my tractor, and it's legal for me to fix my own tractor, but I have to circumvent copyright protection in order to get at the firmware to fix my tractor. And so now it's illegal for me to do that, and I can't fix my own tractor. There's all kinds of examples like that. So the EFS said, look, let's implement the encrypted media extension. Let's put it in, we'll put the standard out there, but the W3C will commit to protecting people who break it in order to do legal things. So security research or archiving for the public good, anything that is legal, anything that is a fair use, will indemnify them. We won't throw our patent pool, because W3C has a bunch of patents of their own, against those people. And the W3C voted 50-some% to 38% against that and said, nope, we're not going to do that. We're just going to implement EME. And so the Electronic Frontier Foundation said, fine, we can't support you anymore.
Which is a really big deal, because the EFF, I think, has been established as a very powerful voice in the side of the users in all of the conversations that have been happening around tech topics, in matters of privacy and rights and all of those. And the letter makes it very clear that the reason the votes went that way was that the weight of the large corporate members, I think is the way they phrase it specifically, was too high, was too much, was too heavy, and that independents and people who were representing other parties were not being heard in a significant enough way. So obviously the EFF is unhappy, so that's possibly one way they're interpreting it. But on the face of it alone, the fact that the EFF is basically, this is the strongest possible signal the EFF could have made to bring attention to this, and it has very long-term consequences. I mean, I guess they could go back in if things were to change, but this is not quite a slap in the face, but it's however politely the letter is written, because they're civilized people who who speak and debate others in civilized ways. This is a very strong gesture, and even without looking at the specifics of everything that's been happening, the fact that the EFF would exit the W3C over that topic, that issue, should bring pause to everyone who considers it.
I think this signifies a split in tech. Justin Robert Young and I are probably going to talk maybe this week, but certainly at some point, about the number of articles out there sort of saying people are turning against technology companies. We used to love the Apples and Googles, and now people are seeing them as the new Standard Oil. Netflix, Microsoft, Google, Apple all supported the encrypted media extension. It was public interest organizations, not just the EFF, but other public interest organizations and smaller companies who were opposed to it. And I think we're seeing a split in technology between the large incumbents who are starting to say, well, but this protects our business model, we need it. And the smaller ones who are fighting for, yes, but the way you got to be big technology companies was an open web that didn't have these kind of locks. And I think this is the beginning, and it certainly isn't the first, but it's the beginning of a serious split in the way technology. Yeah. See, Apple's trying to shut me up right now.
It's certainly, I mean, this is a little bit of a different topic, but certainly I think we're seeing in the entire Western world more concern about the size, the monopolies, the societal and political weight of all of these companies in a way that only 2-3 years ago we didn't see. So I think that can also play into what you're talking about, which is people aren't so ecstatic, honeymoony over the wonders of big tech companies.
Let's finish up our top stories with a quick check-in at the Tokyo Game Show. Sony announced Final Fantasy IX is now out for PS4 and showed some footage from the Shadow of Colossus remake for PS4. Also announced the Japan Studio VR Music Festival coming to Japanese PS4 September 20th. Capcom announced that Monster Hunter World will arrive January 26th with pre-orders beginning September 20th. And Square Enix revealed a new game called Left Alive coming in 2018. None of these are boring announcements, but none of them shocking.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Fair enough. But yeah, it doesn't seem like Sony launched something that really blew everybody away.
No, definitely not. I mean, the conference itself was definitely small scale. A couple of things to note. The new Square Enix game is called Left Alive, which I think is a lot more enticing than having called it Left Dead. I think Left Dead would have made for much less compelling gameplay, probably, I'm guessing.
Also, Left 4 Dead would have had a problem with it, too.
Probably, yeah. And the other thing is they did mention, more seriously, they did mention VR. They had a small but noticeable section for VR, and they're trying to sell still the PlayStation VR as a noticeable part of the PlayStation brand. So it's still not dead. It's still there. It's still going. I don't want to say strong, but they haven't abandoned it in the way that they seem to have with the PlayStation Vita, for example. That is definitely in the rear view mirror.
All right, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines. It's another production of DTNS. You might call it the prototype for DTNS Labs products. You can get it at dailytechheadlines.com. It was broken on the Amazon Echo this weekend. We apologize for that. I believe that's been fixed now. And you can get it on Anchor at anchor.fm. All right, folks, iOS 11 is out, and it brings a lot of productivity features to the iPad, some multitasking stuff, the cool new dock, drag and drop, a file system, and it brings some tweaks to the iPhone as well. Siri's got a more natural voice and some cool new features. The control center is a single screen, and it's customizable. App Store looks like Apple Music now. I know that you have been working with iOS 11 for a while, the beta version of it. How do you feel having used it?
So I've been using it on the iPad. If I'm being honest, on the iPhone, it's a very minor update. It's an update, so there are things.
But my messages apps are all in a tray at the bottom now.
So there are a few changes, but the big story is on the iPad. We mentioned it a few times during the announcement. It was the breakout software feature. Having used it for months now, I have to say I really like it. This is as underwhelming as it is on the iPhone. On the iPad, it actually changes the way you use your device and does make it more productivity capable than it had been in the past. The key element of this is the new multitasking system. For those who don't remember, you now have a dock at the bottom of the screen that is accessible anywhere. So of course on the home screen it's a similar look that it had in the previous version, but if you're running any app, you can summon the dock by swiping up from the bottom of the screen, and from there you can get an app by pressing it for a second or so and bring it to the side of the screen, and it's going to be hovering there for you to use on top of the full screen app you're using. And you can, you know, flick it to the side and flick it back, so you can very, very quickly go from one to the other. And if you choose to, you can actually bring it to the divided screen as you did previously, but it's a lot more accessible. So that alone makes multitasking on the iPad a lot easier, and it's really an enjoyable, I don't know if I want to say enjoyable, a useful new UI feature.
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed right away, this is maybe a specific use, but I know a couple of you probably do this. When I have Hearthstone open, sometimes I want to see what Icy Veins says about a deck or Hearthbone or something like that. And I've always popped up Safari or Chrome in a side view. Well, in iOS 11 now, that side view is a little more floaty and repositionable. And so even though Hearthstone doesn't do the split view, which I don't know how they could, to be frank, it just wouldn't fit in the way the iPad screen works. I have been able to look at the web, but it was always a very wonky between the two, the way it worked. Sometimes Hearthstone would think it was in the background and stop working. In iOS 11, it feels like it's much more natural. It's and Hearthstone has never stopped working. It always feels like it's in the foreground, like it would be on an actual laptop, where it doesn't stop working just because you're focused on something else.
Right, exactly. It's a windowing system, a very simple one, but it is a kind of windowing system, just like we have in standard old-fashioned graphical user interfaces. And the other thing that is really practical is that you can, that little gesture that I mentioned, flicking it to the side when it's on top of your full screen app, you flick it to the side, so it's just, you know, hidden for a little bit, and you can summon it back into the screen very easily by flicking back on the very edge of your screen. So that also works really well. There's the cut and paste, which works quite well also, which none of these features are, you know, incredible from a computer's user interface general design point of view. But what I think some people might miss is that they are very well integrated into the finger use of the iPad. The core ideas of those features aren't revolutionary in any way, but they fit very well into your actual use of that device, so that they become very natural, you know, minutes after you've learned how to do them. And that's kind of a feat.
Well, cut and paste has been there for a long time.
But not drag and drop. Did I say cut? I mean,
yes.
yes, the drag and drop. Sorry, my apologies.
The drag and drop, the ability to take a thing. You could have the split screen, right? And you can just copy some text and then drag it over to the other screen. So you're taking it from the web into a Word doc, let's say.
Right. Or you have like an image that you get from a web page and you want to tweet that image. You get the Twitter app on the side. You long press the image itself, and it will you slide it over to the Twitter app, and it will either do the image itself or the link to that image. Things like that that become that actually mean actions that would have taken 5 steps in the old OS now take a couple, which means, you know, it's the difference, a key. It's all the difference in the world when you're trying to actually get some work done on this thing.
Yeah, a couple other things to note. There's a new format for images, HEIC. It's a new compression format. You'll sometimes see it HEIF as well. It's the same thing. It is a standard. It's not an Apple proprietary thing, but it's not yet supported on Windows 10. So if you're using Microsoft Photos, for instance, you may have problems if you sync these to Microsoft Photos and then Photos syncs it to Windows 10 and you try to open it from the Windows Explorer. It may not open. You have to use a third party in Windows 10. I think HEIC support is coming to Windows 10, but that's the kind of thing that's going to happen every once in a while when a new standard starts to take hold. It is supported by Google Photos, so you shouldn't have any problem there, but that can cause a few issues. If it really bugs you, you can set iOS to store your images in JPEG instead. You won't get those cool loop live photo features and stuff like that, but you also will make sure that your format works everywhere.
There are a couple of other things that are included in the iOS 11 update. Do you have a favorite one or one that was particularly useful?
The one I'm interested in trying, I've tried it out once, but I want to compare it, is the scanning of documents. I use an app called Cam Scanner. I've used it for a long time. It works great. But there is now scanning built into Notes, and I'm curious if there's any reason to use that instead. So I tried it on one document this morning, and I mean, it scanned the document and it looked fine. So I'm going to have to use it for a bunch of different things before I decide whether one is better than the other. And I'm really excited about having files, especially on the iPad. Maybe I'm just old fashioned, but I like to be able to see the file system and see where files are.
I think that is, we mentioned it when they finally abandoned that idea, that wonderful idea of completely being done with a file system, but when they realize it actually doesn't work, the syncing doesn't quite work properly, and you always end up having problems. Maybe someone will take a stab at that at some point in the future, but yeah, now the file system definitely like it will never go away. One thing I'm still disappointed with is Siri. I love the new voice. I think this is an incredibly natural sounding voice. And it's one of those things that a lot of people, mention in passing, going like, oh yeah, whatever. It's a nicer voice. And I think you're in that camp. But I think it brings us so much closer to those things actually being the fantasy, the science fiction fantasy of what we would like them to be. Unfortunately, the functionality is still not there. I tried asking her to display pictures of my wife earlier, and she responded by giving me web search results for pictures of my wife, which was...
Well, hold on, let me try. Hey, Siri, show me pictures of Patrick's wife.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
All right, never mind. I'll do that later.
So yeah,
at least they're secure.
Yeah, that is a little bit, yeah, that's probably a good security feature. I think there's a little bit of work still to be done. I don't know that Siri is worse than the other assistants, but it's certainly not great. It's still at that stage where you ask it things, and if those things are part of the things it understands, then it will probably answer you. But that's it.
Others are better. None are great. That's how I'd put it. It's not like it's far behind. And then last, before we get out of here, benchmarks from Geekbench are out showing that the Apple 11 Bionic processor, which is the one in the new iPhone 8s, as well as going to be in the iPhone 10, outperformed not only Qualcomm chips and Snapdragons and Exynos chips, but also the Kaby Lake Core i5 in the 13-inch MacBook Pro. At multi-core, it did not outperform it at single-core operations, but at multi-core operations, this new A11 Bionic processor is smoking.
This is really impressive. A couple of things. First of all, the naming convention, having names for each of their CPUs now was confirmed as being a complete marketing technique. They did mention, having a something is not very memorable, but when they started calling them A10 Fusion and A11 Bionic, then people remember it, which, that's fair enough. But the article really goes into details about how and why this, what this means. Does it mean that your device is going to be able to do more things than your MacBook Pro? Obviously not. But even more interestingly, how did Apple get it to a position where this is the first time that they're actually outperforming every other CPU? Obviously, the Core i5 is the impressive one, but they are way beyond the ARM CPUs, which again, and other ones. But I mean, yeah, the ARM architecture is left in the dust, which the article mentions is not necessarily because ARM can't design CPUs, but the Android market doesn't really require super high-end CPUs. So it's a nice way of looking at it.
No, it's a really interesting article. Go check it out at appleinsider.com. We'll have a link to it in the show notes as well. And keep in mind that, I mean, a MacBook Pro has to power a big display. So it really isn't a totally fair comparison. But when you're talking about these other phones that Patrick is mentioning, those are equivalent displays. And the excuses before were, well, but Apple has a lower resolution display. It's not trying to do as much as these other Android phones. Well, now the iPhone 10 is, and it's still doing well. So, you know, hats off to the processor guys at Apple. It's maybe a shame that only Apple gets to benefit from this processor, but there you go.
And the other thing is also there might be some behind the scenes things that do require that kind of power. Maybe the neural machine learning things and the face recognition will take advantage of that kind of power. But most likely you're going to be using it to do email and browsing the web, and that's probably not going to require that much power. Maybe the AR part of it will, but we didn't even mention it. We're so much in the infancy of that.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. A couple of messages. I had asked about listeners in rural areas to suggest any alternatives to Verizon for folks. Really haven't gotten anything. Wiggles the Holy in our chat room sent in an email saying that while not perfect, coverage with Viaero is pretty solid in Nebraska, eastern Colorado, and even parts of Kansas. Viaero, so Viaero. However, from my experience in Kansas, I can tell you once you leave the Viaero area, service drops to a trickle. I work in the IT department for an agricultural company that has employees scattered throughout Kansas, Colorado, and Nebraska. We tested Viaero when they entered the Kansas market and were severely disappointed with the inconsistency of the networks and the inconsistency of programming. Each phone had to have settings manually entered, and they wouldn't take half the time. So a good solution if you're staying in Nebraska and not going elsewhere, it sounds like, but maybe not for roaming around. And then regarding the listener who wants a replacement for the iOS TV app, Purple Fuku in Slack said this is a kind of a hacky solution, but if you change the App Store region to a region that doesn't have the TV app yet, the Videos app will appear automatically. You'd need to create a new ID for that region. You have to deal with any language barriers, and you'd have to stay on that region for as long as you want to use the app. As a test, I just switched back and forth a few times between my US and Japanese accounts, and consistently the TV and Videos app would swap places. But when you need app updates, news apps, you could always switch app stores, download stuff, then switch back to whatever non-US store you choose. Not ideal, but it works. And so I asked him, I was like, what do you think the smallest English-speaking country is? Because that's probably the last in line to get it. And he's like, I don't know, maybe Bahamas or Barbados. But that is an ingenious way to handle it. It is a little bit hacky in how you have to switch back and forth.
We will be getting it in France, the TV app, and I will be in Finland.
Well, do you want the TV app? Yeah.
So, well, I don't really care all that much. We do get HBO Nordic in Finland. However, in order to get it to my Apple TV, I would need to create a Finnish Apple Store account, and I couldn't be bothered, so I just plug in my computer into the TV and watch it like that.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us. You do all kinds of stuff besides the Daily Tech News Show. If people haven't heard for some reason, what else do you do?
You can listen to the shows that I also produce. One of those would be Pixels. It's a general gaming news show. We try to go into news from the industry, analysis, and summary, so that you don't have to go into everything that the news produces in the gaming world. The latest episode we did was mostly about Destiny 2. So if you're curious about that very popular game, you can go check out Pixels. It's available on all podcasting apps and at FrenchSpin.com.
Excellent. thank you, folks, for supporting us. We work on the value for value model. If you get value out of the show, we ask you to give it a little value back. Recently, we asked you to give a little extra value in order to be able to get Sarah Lane on the show, and we have hit that milestone. We need you to keep those pledges until the end of the month so that we can actually make this happen. A lot of people have been asking, like, well, will she start right away? When does she start? The way we have our Patreon account set up, we get the money that people pledge once a month. It starts coming on the first of the month. We don't get it immediately when you pledge. So we're waiting for that to happen. And then Sarah will start. So that'll be October 2nd, since October 1st is a Sunday. And we'll have more information coming on DTNS Labs. And the first of the roundtable shows will happen on the last Friday of October as well. And we're doing all of this thanks to you guys supporting us. We also have a new milestone for 2 roundtable shows. If you like the roundtable show and want to push for more, and we've got a lot more people supporting us now, we super appreciate it. We just passed 5,000 supporters again for the first time in a long time at patreon.com/DTNS. We cannot thank you enough. I'm blown away by you folks and your willingness to support this show. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show. That was really fun.
Yeah, that was good. Was I breaking off from time? One time, I know I probably interrupted you from your perspective because... No, but I figured because you were starting to go...
like this and then started talking again.
Right.
And I just tried to cover it by saying, yeah, what you just said is true.
Yeah, I figured. I know, we've been doing this long enough that now I get those little cues.
And then as soon as you came back, I shut up, and I think it was fine. But yeah, it was
titles?
that one time that I noticed it. Yes, titles.
All right. Happy birthday, Patrick. Squeeze to unlock with the Equifax.
Why are you still reading? We have...
The Navy plays Xbox. Tom Safeword is cancel. Dear W3C, DRM for www is BS. Love EFF. And then in the Navy, Xbox controllers, you can grope. Probably not a good one to use. Navy copies GTA 5.
Really need to read it before you speak them.
EFF to W3C.
I like EFF is no longer BFF with W3C. That
all right, we'll go with that one.
I really like Tom's safe word is cancel as well, but maybe you don't want to go there.
I didn't quite get it till after I reacted to it, and then I'm like, oh,
safe word.
A little slow on that one today.
EFF is no longer BFF with W3C.
Like that one?
Yes, I vote. I voted.
All right. Well, since the title is decided,
not about your birthday, you're out of here.
Yes, I'm out of here. We're in the Paris studio, so my wife is right here and probably eager to get. You can say hi to my wife.
Hi, Sonia.
Hello. There you go.
Hello.
All right. You guys have a lovely day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, Roger. Bye.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye, Tom. Bye, chat room. I love you all. Bye.
Woohoo. Well, Roger, and then it was us.
Then it was us. Why do I have so much of these stupid email things? I want to change my email, but so many people have it.
Well, you just got to do it slowly.
Look, now I have a receipt. I have a receipt from the Pest Slayer Corp.
Change your email the way you would change a credit card. where you do it over a couple of months and make sure that any auto pay stuff gets moved over, and then you close the other one. Right?
You know, I don't care that much about who I'm paying via credit card. Is people being able to reach me. So,
really? I care way more that I'm going to get like miss a bill and get some kind of collection charge.
docked.
Yeah.
Can't collect for me if you don't know my email address, which I guess everyone does now. No.
This is another good reason to change it.
manontheRun@gmail.com. That's taken. Okay. A man on the run at gmail.com.
Chang on the run. Not Roger.
Not Patrick. Not Roger. Not Patrick.
Not your Roger.
Yeah, not your Roger.
For all those people sending you the wrong email.
What is it with this Brazilian bank? I keep telling them that you keep sending this guy's receipt with his wire transfers to the wrong person. Whatever. It's not like you can do anything with that information.
It's worse than Equifax in your email account.
Well, I'm just amazed at how many receipts come through that list literally all the personal details, like phone numbers, physical address, credit card. Oh, they don't list a credit card because those are just not cool. Not cool.
Band on the run. Boy, some spammers just don't give up.
You know, if they're going to spam me, at least have the decency to send me an order of spam masubi.
Is it indecent not to send people spam masubi?
I mean, I like it.
I do
like
too.
it, too.
Yeah. Now, do you like the sushi looking ones or the hand roll looking ones?
What does the hand roll looking one look like?
Looks like a hand roll, but it's got spam in it. I don't think they're called masubi though. I think they're called something else.
It's just the one that has the little rectangular bed of rice and then the little square of spam on it, and then
Like a cone. It's a cone of rice with mid of seaweed.
No, it doesn't look like a cone. So probably
You like the masubi, the regular masubi.
Yeah, the ones you could get at like a gas station in Hawaii.
You can get both at a gas station in Hawaii. That's why I asked.
You can also get those taro pies instead of apple pies at the McDonald's. That's the one thing I really thought was cool, and I wish McDonald's here would have it.
Taro pie. Nobody here likes taro though, except you and me.
People don't know they like taro until they try it.
It
just looks purple and throws
a lot of
people
people
off.
try it and they're like, ew, this is gross. I love it. I like poi, which is made.
Ethan Kane. What a wonderful, was that Full Metal Jacket? Ethan, I think Ethan Kane in the chat room is referencing
Full Metal Jacket quotes in the chat room. Properly dashed out for young ears. Tarot cards are the cards that are made of taro root.
Yes, and usually it's a woman that you pay to read it for you. I see a little crumb in your life ahead.
I see boy in your future.
I didn't know there were so many different styles of poi. There's like 20 something, I guess. All various states of fermentation.
Mm. Aloha Mix Plate in Lahaina on Maui makes my favorite poi. And I'm not going to say it's the best poi because I have not tried enough of them, but it is my favorite that I've had up to now.
I tried to hang wallpaper once with poi. Didn't work.
What? Why?
It's a joke. Because that's
why. How was that a joke? I thought you liked poi.
No, I don't like poi.
Oh, I see. You like taro. You just don't like poi.
I love taro. I just don't like poi. Poi is just I don't like fermented pickled things. This
is why you have gastric problems. You need those fermented things to have a good ecosystem in your stomach, Roger.
Or I could just quit eating junk food.
Well, no, those are two separate things.
Well, I really only have the stomach issues when I eat junk food like Taco Bell. But man, those Taco Locos are.
What if I told you that
awful.
eating enough pickled foods would allow you to eat junk food without any problem? I would be lying because I don't know that that's true. But
Yeah,
what
I
if
don't
I
think
told
that's
you
true.
that?
Can I eat one of those like feminine yogurts that are like green and tell me they're full of biotics?
You can eat any yogurt. You don't have to eat the whatever Tuvala ones.
What's the one? The probiotic. All the ones that say
They're
they're
all
probiotic.
probiotic.
I know. That's why.
Well, there's
so
some
weird.
yogurts that are actually not probiotic, but yeah, you don't have to get a special kind of yogurt for it to be probiotic. Greek yogurt's probiotic.
I'm afraid you're allergic to goat enzymes.
Kimchi? Do you like kimchi?
Depend. I'll eat it if I'm like really hungry and I need something to snack on and it's in front of me, but I won't go on my way
Activia.
to
Thank
get
you,
it.
Ethan Kane.
Yeah, Activia. I used to think that was like not medicated food, but what do
It's
they
just
call it?
branded. It's like, oh, let's take yogurt and pretend it's more than it is.
I only started eating it because they used to stock the Best Western hotels with them in their little continental breakfast room.
That's why they do it. They get you hooked.
But like, I used to think it was like an old person thing, like Ensure, like if you're just not regular, like something you need.
Right. It does have that feel, doesn't it? Do not take Activia.
Do not take Activia if you're
you
under the
experience-
age of 80.
If you experience gastric distress longer than 5 hours.
Eat this. That will shorten it to an hour. Poodle Puncher in the chat room says that he can hook me up with
Oh, his
a
company makes
discounted
it.
shirt. Or Similac. You know, my kid was totally on Similac, but then she just stopped. Like there was a point where she just wouldn't take it anymore. And then she started taking up Eggo waffles instead. I don't think that's a good trade-off, really. I don't think they're the same nutrients.
Not the best, I guess.
She likes eggs. She likes those chicken nuggets from Costco that are shaped like dinosaurs.
Oh, okay. Took me a minute to picture that.
And she likes the eggs from those Jimmy Dean sausage egg muffin croissant sandwiches they sell at Costco. She just takes the egg and eats that.
She doesn't like the sausage?
Nah. She doesn't like meat. She likes egg. She likes yogurt.
Always I
ice
preferred
cream.
meat to anything else. I like eggs too, but
she won't eat like straight up vegetables other than not taro root, sweet potatoes.
I had a sandwich today, and I know that my sandwich making abilities and habits are not popular. So don't at me, bro. But my sandwich was a little bit of peppered salami, some English farmer's cheese, which is just kind of a cheddar, and kimchi. It was delicious.
That was your sandwich?
Yep, that was my sandwich.
My sandwich, like back at Tech TV, my sandwiches were basically focaccia bread, hummus, whatever spring mix, lettuce I could get at Trader Joe's, roast beef, Swiss cheese, tomatoes.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us for Sandwich Talk. We'll be back again tomorrow with other kinds of foods.
With a foot long instead of 6 inches of story.